Ladies and gentlemen, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I hope I'm coming through all right. Do let me know in the chat. Sorry for not checking in earlier. If you couldn't tell, some Fridays I like to hit the gym. Hit the gym. I go for a cardio-ish, strength-ish kind of class at 6:10. And it's so funny. In this New York City um traffic, takes 20 minutes to get there and 40 minutes to get back to either work or home. So there is that. Um I just want to make sure I'm coming through all right. Checking in on your comments here. Ah, I am. Nancy, that is, oh wait, other side. That's me with my grandpa. Um he's my best friend and mentor in life. Um a good story about him. You can, you know what? If you go into YouTube and type in my name and then Momentum Podcast, you'll see me talk about the impact a lot of my family had on me, and he's definitely one of them. So, Suhan ish, yeah, ish, ish. It's great because it's structured in a very nice way. At least I think so. Strength training for 15 minutes, running on a treadmill for 15 minutes, and then the same thing again, strength 15 minutes and then running 15 minutes. So it's really cool. I like the structure. We are we are here for the news though, right? Let me get my material up. Ah, and later today I do have an interview lined up with Mr. Ramon Perez. um I don't think I sent out his TED talk just yet, but you can look it up. Ramon Perez TEDx talk. Um, a lot of common themes that we all know and love. So so that'll prove to be interesting. And to be honest, I booked him for a half hour. I don't know if I'll need it to be longer than that. We'll see. Um, okay, we are ready to roll. I wanted to go into the Iran negotiate. Okay, I just came off of listening to something regarding Karg Island. Here's the thing: Iran is choking us by closing the Strait of Hormuz. But where's? Oh, by the way, Nancy, to answer your question, this is work. This is work. This is it's my office. Um, Iran's choking us by closing the Strait of Hormuz. Great. Not great, but point made. There's in the media a belief that if we take Karg Island, that's sort of a choke point for Iran, that we can hit back with Karg Island. I don't see that. What I see is that would hurt them if we leave. Right now, are you telling me that the Iranian economy is still running? That if we hit Karg Island, it'll come to a grinding halt? I don't think so. I mean, is the Iranian economy really still chugging along? After listening to Admiral Stavridis, I mean, it seems like it'll be a positive strategic positioning for the United States, but not I'm not adequately informed on how much Karg Island means to Iran now in the middle of the war. Um, that's where I stand. There's also reporting now by Barak Ravid. You have to give the guy his chops. He has great reporting when it comes to the Middle East. A lot of people on the right are against him, but hey, he's the one breaking great news a lot. Trump extended negotiations with Iran and paused his threat to bomb Iranian energy facilities by another 10 days. Because of Admiral Stavridis' analysis, I think Trump is very much inclined to postpone these negotiations. until he can adequately say, Iran, you better negotiate, or else we're going to come down and hit harder than we already have. The so first the 48 hour first it was 48 hours from last Friday night, and then once that deadline was about to finish, it was extended 5 days, which was supposed to be tomorrow, and now it's extended another 10 days. I'm thinking they're just getting the Americans are getting forces ready. I mean, it's not even I think, it's they are. The more deployments that we're seeing, Trump. I agree with the admiral. Trump is not a posturer as much as he is impatient and wants results yesterday. So I see that happening. And it's reminiscent when I think of the 15-point plan that the White House put out, and then I think it was 5 points that Iran has on their side. It's it's ridiculous to think how far apart they are. It reminds me in the beginning of the Ukraine-Russia war, how far apart Russia and Ukraine were when they were discussing having negotiations take place in Jerusalem. And I'm pretty sure that was before 10/7. So I remember that, just how far apart the parties are. Is there any meeting in the middle kind of thing? Something else you guys and I really care about is the fallout between the Pentagon and Anthropic. For now, Anthropic. So Anthropic and the Pentagon had a falling out. Anthropic wouldn't bow to the will of the Pentagon, I guess, in order to sign some government contracts and services. As retaliation, the Pentagon labeled Anthropic a supply chain risk, effectively barring them from a lot of government contracting. A judge blocked it and also halted Trump's ban on federal use. Now it's going to be in this game of ping pong between different courts and stuff. But hey, listen, the legal system is working somewhat for now. It's good to see that at least there's that. Yeah, I think that whatever the Pentagon and Trump did to Anthropic, I think is un-American, wrong, and really anti-capitalist, to be honest with you. That's my take on things. That's not, especially with the Anthropic kind of stuff. And then I think I read a statistic. Don't quote me on this, but I think I read a statistic that usage of Claude AI, Anthropic's LLM, went up by like 13 or 1400% after that falling out with the Pentagon. Not to say, I mean, listen, Claude has gotten amazingly better and leapfrogged over the other LLMs. And that's constantly happening. Different AI bots are leapfrogging over the others. And I was just speaking to someone else in business this week, and they just go, we just have to operate completely LLM agnostic, just because what it takes to transfer all of the memories from one LLM to the other, when one leapfrogs over the other and we want to use the latest and greatest features, you're going to have to make sure that you're agnostic of sorts. So that's a little tangent there. Rubio is heading over to Europe to garner support for the Iran war. Again, I have to give it to the admiral. Admiral Stavridis was on Smerconish's program and said, instead of wagging your finger at NATO saying you're not getting involved and helping us in this war, you can garner support for opening the Strait of Hormuz. And in their independent capacity, not their NATO capacity, they can assist in opening the strait, because that affects the entire world economy. And the Europeans, I think, want to prove to the Americans that we are, after all, on the same team. I don't think they want to stick a thumb in our eye because we made them pay more in NATO. I mean, they were getting away with a crime over there, in my opinion. And of course, polarization and partisanship. The Senate agrees to fund DHS except ICE and Border Patrol in a bid to end the 40-day shutdown. So they want to fund TSA because that's what's giving them the bad press. But they don't want to fund ICE and Border Patrol. correct me if I'm wrong, I believe ICE is already funded for a few years. Border Patrol, I'm not so sure about. But now if they agree to fund TSA, not ICE and not Border Patrol, well, let me back up. If they agree to fund DHS without ICE and Border Patrol, doesn't that put the ball now back in the Republicans' court? So now the TSA mess that's going on is the fault of the Republicans. So that, I mean, is an interesting way to turn it back on its head. Let's see. And it's unanimous. The Senate unanimously moves to fund most of DHS. Wow. When do you see unanimity in that legislative body these days? Senate approves funding for TSA. Yep. All right. There's something. Cool. I want to take some time out. Well, I'll do another headline, and then we'll go for I'll do another headline, and then I do have a personal agenda that I will be using this platform to promote, and you will forgive me for it because I'm going to do everything in my power to advocate for this. The Kremlin. Oh my God. I'm not going to go with the Kremlin right now. Let me go back to the Strait of Hormuz, right? The Economist has a headline on that. Why hasn't the U.S. military used force to secure the Strait of Hormuz? First off, I think the answer is in here, but the answer is because they don't want to frighten the oil tankers, and the oil tankers don't have an alternative route, really. They don't want to frighten the oil tankers, and I think it really just comes down to that. Because if they use force to take the Strait of Hormuz, oil tankers will surely have some collateral damage to them. And once you frighten the oil tankers, you already see that they're hesitant to go in, even with a Navy escort. So there's that. There is that. I do want to touch on the case against Meta in a product liability sense, and then I'll go into my personal matter. Smerconish has a point by saying lawyers have a good role in, I guess, acting when Congress and what was it? Congress and the companies themselves, I guess, don't act. You'd much rather Congress act. You'd much rather repeal or modify Section 230. But I think he makes a coherent case when citing the Ford Pinto and Big Tobacco, how this work around the legal system where trial lawyers are invoking product liability to facilitate change that our society frankly needs, I guess, is a unintended benefit of our legal system. We're trial attorneys, or I guess the judicial system, endowed with legislation or law creation. I guess not explicitly, but I'll take this benefit. I'll tell you on a personal level. So I turn 30 next week. I grew up put it this way. I had a smartphone I had a BlackBerry when I was 13 years old. And that was because I was really technical in nature, and my dad awarded me for getting the honor roll. It also had to do with my bar mitzvah. So all that put together, I got a phone. I think it was December 27th or something like that. It was a momentous day for me. So, but you see, I didn't get onto social media until I was about 13 or 14 or so. And I wouldn't say I was corrupted by it just because I was so early on in the social media days, but I was also an adolescent. And where I did see it take place was I have a sister 9 years younger than me. I saw that glaringly, and oh my god, the whirlwind and the consummation of, I hope I'm using that word right, the consuming of her little mind at the time by these social media companies. I saw how incredibly unhealthy it was. Um, Forgive me, as the bigger brother, I stepped in and said, this is absolutely not right. Something's got to be done here. Um, you know, typical sibling back and forth about that. But long story short, I loved her, and in the end of the day, it's a defective product that they put out there. Now, let me tell you on the other end, I would not be able to advertise as targeted and relevant ads in my personal life for the products I sell. I'd not be able to sell to target people the way I do now if the big platforms didn't have all of the information and serve all the relevant information to those people. That's where the revenue comes from. It's knowing the person and targeting that person with relevant information. People are bringing up YouTube and Alphabet, but I don't think YouTube is doing that bad of. I mean, YouTube is not doing the damage, nearly the damage that I think Meta is doing. Um, Maybe that's because it's me and because I'm streaming on this platform. YouTube, I don't think isolates a lot of our youth this way. Um, YouTube could, let's say, in the event that they detect somebody in a state of depression, sometimes a very dangerous depression, they can take proactive steps, and instead of which I know firsthand, of somebody in my orbit where it's somebody was severely depressed. It served let's just say content that was not the best for a severely depressed person to see. It could have served a different content. I'm not saying it should go ahead and alert people. I'm saying it shouldn't serve things that'll make you either harm yourself or become more depressed. It should serve things that may turn that depression around. And don't tell me that YouTube doesn't know what that is, because they know what everything is. Okay, that's my take on the news. And so long story short, I'm for that. I'm for that verdict. I'm not so for the strategy of legislating through trials, but I'll take the outcome. That's the nuance of it, right? Okay. All you guys know. So now I'm taking a brief detour here. I'm not even doing the weave as the president likes to call it. I'm making an appeal to you guys. As you know, my son was born with a cleft lip and palate, December of last year, of 2024. He underwent a palate repair surgery in October of 2024, of 2025. And I got two notices. So palate repair, thank God, went well. Went under anesthesia. Woke up that day. We went through the recovery process. Not easy, not pretty. My wife and I, and the doctor had us stay one night for supervision at the hospital, or observation, I guess is the better word to use. I come home, I get a denial letter from the insurance company saying we're not going to cover that overnight stay because it wasn't medically necessary. I thought to myself, all right, this is stupidity and bureaucracy. There's no way that they're actually going to stick by this. So the plastic surgeon's office submitted an appeal. The plastic surgeon's office said, please appeal this decision. It's not right. Infant underwent anesthesia. They're staying the night at the hospital. They came back and they said, no, we deny the appeal. All right. Second appeal. They came. My plastic surgeon's office came back and said, we want a medical professional to review this denial, and they sent a packet this thick. I have it behind me. I think I've shown it to you in the past, saying how it wasn't medically necessary. And if you read it, it's comedy. Comedy. Um, for the past 7 years, almost every single session in New York State, there was a bill presented in either the state assembly or the state senate protecting any New Yorker, or I guess any person under treatment in New York for a craniofacial abnormality as covered by insurance to get that treated as deemed medically necessary by a doctor, not by the insurance companies, but by a doctor. I was an instrumental part and very strong advocate for a state senator in my community, the first of my community to ever be elected to a public office, State Senator Sam Sutton. I partook in his campaign last May in a special election where he won the seat and now serves as a very effective senator for our community. Luckily, he took on this bill and sponsored this bill, and I have to get the word out and garner as much support for this bill as possible, because I need, number one, to convince Albany that this bill is worth passing after, wow, it's more than 7 years. It's almost 9 years. 9 years of being presented in the legislature. And my case is not isolated. In the cleft community, there are so many wrongs that have been done, and had this been any other ADA disability, God forbid, I wouldn't have this issue. Had it been abortion, I would not have this issue in New York State. No way. Nobody asked for this condition. He was born with it. And a doctor thought that certain treatment was necessary. Because the insurance company doesn't, they're going to say, well, not on me. I like to think they messed with the wrong guy. I put a website together. endcleftdenials.com. That's END, cleft, CLEFT, denials.com. Or .org. Either one works. And I don't want to put really any personally identifiable information on there just yet. I don't mind that this video exists out there, but I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that this legislation becomes law. Thankfully, I have a friend that I helped get elected into the Senate, and we even volunteered together on a bunch of community efforts. So there's that. So I hope you forgive me for taking the liberty to advocate for that agenda. Just if for whatever you guys can do in promoting it. For all of you New Yorkers, please sign up over there. Contact your legislators to support this bill. And yeah, I'll be sending out more emails to that list if you sign up to endcleftdenials.org, and you will you'll hear from me there as far as when the bill is presented to the Senate floor, and when it's going to be passed into law. I'm going to, so yeah, we're working on a co-sponsor in the assembly so that we could get it passed this session. That's that. So Suen, it's .org. I'm promoting .org, but .com redirects to .org. No problem there. Endcleftdenials.org. Thank you, everybody. Now I'll engage with some comments for the next 4 minutes or so. So that's where that's happening. Let's do it. Okay. So Kermusha was talking to Suen Engel, and I have no idea what this comment is in reference to, but this is hilarious. I think the stork missed her chimney when he dropped me off. That's a hilarious comment. I don't know what you're talking about, but that is a hilarious comment. Tammy Moran talking about GoFundMe started here for Pittsburgh Airport TSA agents, over $6,400 so far. I saw an opinion piece where people said, it could be problematic if people start giving money to TSA in a private capacity, because then TSA may have favorable inclinations towards whoever gives them money, and that person could have nefarious or malicious intent. That's funny. Desert Sunset. Oh, I think you came late to the game. Welcome. Good to have you. Nancy, the Schumer shutdown produced nothing but inconvenience for the flying public, and the only woes for the TSA. Shameful. They always seem to be the punching bag, right? And I think there was a caller on the Smerconish program who said, just move TSA to be a part of the Department of Justice or some other department that's not always under DHS. Cheers, everybody, for coffee, right? Um, oh, Suen and Harvey are talking about. Harvey wanted to accommodate somebody. Suen was responding to that. Um, I'm just scrolling through them, guys. Bear with me here. Oh, so here, Robert, shouting out to you guys. At least Delta suspended the privileges that Congress enjoys with them while the shutdown still exists. Robert, was it while the shutdown exists or was it beyond that? Um, I I I heard that headline. I looked into it a little bit. I mean, I don't really mind that Congress people have privileges when it comes to airlines. I mean, does it put them on unequal footing to every one of us that have to deal with lines at TSA? It does. But they do have to travel a lot if they're going back and forth between DC and their districts. I don't mind some accommodations being made to them. Now, if that's in exchange for positive treatment legislatively, I'm sure it is. Don't appreciate that. But hey, um, I don't mind them making members of Congress' lives a little easier. That's that. In the end, it comes down to practicality. But I would want all airlines to do it, not just Delta. I mean, if it were like I guess if it were a federally funded thing or a no, not federally funded. I would say okay, here's what I would say. Every member of Congress should have a route to use campaign finances to pay for a privilege like that. That's where I think I'd fall out on those Delta privileges. What's his name? Chris Cillizza had a great video on that. Which, by the way, Mark Halprin ripped Chris Cillizza for a comment he made earlier, saying that there's no media bias to the left. That's a very interesting video that I thought of reacting to in a public manner here. Ham White. Karg Island processes 90% of their petroleum, but is not a choke point for the Gulf Straits. We would need to take a hold of a 50-mile corridor along the Iranian side to control the Gulf waters, I think you meant. Well, what was also covered in the Stavridis piece was that we have to travel through the Strait of Hormuz to get to Karg Island with the Marines, that is. The 82nd Airborne, I believe, in the area doesn't have to do that, but I don't know how much you could do from the air. And if we go ahead and want to blockade it, that's a totally different story. I mean, wow, what a small island. A third of the size of Manhattan? I mean, forgive me if I'm naive. It's so small. It's so small. Why, like, it's so small yet so hard to, I guess, conquer? Crazy. Righty. I'm gonna scroll past a ton to the more later comments, and then we'll wrap it for the day. Victor, have a great day. Always appreciate you saying goodbye. I see that every time. Robert responding to Jamal. United Health has been involved in a number of arbitrations with doctors and hospitals in terms of payment amounts, so it doesn't surprise me. Well, I don't know if I told you guys this in the past. I got lucky enough when my father-in-law, an orthodontist, is a specialist in the field of cleft palate and cleft lip children. And my brother-in-law is a pediatric oncologist. So somebody in a medical, so the medical profession speaks very closely to me at home. The nurses strike that happened in New York City was directly impacted the family dinner conversations, and the negotiations between the insurance companies, the hospitals, the practices is something I really see on a personal level, because I mean, obviously, work comes up in a family context, and yeah, that's really covered a lot. Kurmoshi, I am fortunate. I'm so fortunate for that. I between my the only reason why I knew what the condition was when we got diagnosed with it with our son was because he goes on a volunteer mission to Colombia, Bogota, and he helps people who don't have access to cleft care as we do here in America. And I go, holy crap! I get the diagnosis that he goes and helps every year, and then you guys know I'm a man of. I like to think of myself as traditional. I don't know about religious, but traditional. And I think to myself, was I cursed, blessed, or both? It could have been worse. I could have not had this father-in-law that helps me in divine ways, or the divine himself could have given this to me to pass this legislation, to help others who won't have to go through this when this legislation passes. So yeah. Yeah. Oh, and you guys were probably talking about that. That's my daughter. That's my daughter. She made it for me in her school for Daddy's Day. Ladies and gentlemen, um wishing you guys a fantastic weekend, a fantastic Friday, and I will see you Monday for a pre-Easter week, a pre-Passover week. So wishing you guys all the best. Love you all. Stay with me. And endcleftdenials.org. Thank you so much.